Welcome to Murder and Everything Else. My name is Joy.
And my name is Cheryl. Joy and I are two very old friends who love to talk about murder and everything else.
Okay, I have to just share with our listeners that this week Cheryl and I were talking, and which we do. It's so fun. Here's what I do. After I come home from work, or if I don't work, you do your evening stuff. Usually it involves me watching the news, which I do while I'm changing. Then I eat something, or we sit down and have dinner. And then we walk the dogs, or my husband walks the dogs because it's so damn hot. I'm sorry, but I walk them in the morning. I don't feel like I should walk them in the evening because, longer than 20 minutes of exercise daily is really hard for me. But anyway,
or 10 minutes.
I go in and I start talking, and then I just talk. Anyway, yes. I was telling Cheryl about hobby horsing, and come to find out, she didn't even know it existed. So you can imagine my extreme glee at not only showing her videos, but sharing with her that it is indeed a real sport, often with gymnastic elements where participants simulate equestrian activities using hobby horses, also known as stick horses. And guys, I'm not kidding you. It's those sticks with the horse heads on it from when you're a little kid. And they prance around, and they have different... Cheryl's literally, her eyes are rolling back in her head as I'm saying this. But anyway, for those of you out there who are not aware of this as being a sport, you need to go and look up hobby horsing competitions. It originated in Finland around the early 2000s, and it's a real sport. They have competitions and everything.
Oh my gosh, you guys. You need to Google it right now or go to YouTube so you can see them in action. It is the most ridiculous thing, one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. And before we know it, it's going to be an Olympic sport.
Because remember when the breakdancing floored everyone? And people were making fun of Ray Gun and her prancing around on stage in her tracksuit. Well, I got to tell you, nothing beats hobby horsing as far as being ridiculous. Yeah, but remember back in the 2000s when we thought curling was hilarious?
Yeah, no, that's been replaced with hobby horsing.
Yeah. It's so funny.
I don't know how they're judged on their print. Oh, and then they jump over these, equestrian horses.
Hurdles. So the key aspects of hobby horsing are these: simulation of equestrian sports, creative expression, community and competition, and it's not just for kids.
It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Guys, it's great. Go look it up. I'm not kidding you. It's hours and hours of entertainment. And the best part is there's some of the channels, they actually are narrating and she'll be like, I worked really hard and trained really hard for this part because I have to hold my balance and stand and prance in the same spot for a long time. And you're like, are you kidding me? It's like a 16-year-old wearing spandex pants and just with the stick
between her legs. It is the most, you have to go and look. You have to look for yourself.
You have to
and
go and
never
judge
unsee it. You'll never be able to unsee it. That's all I can say.
I love it. I think it's so fun. Yeah. I remember they would introduce every Olympics every 4 years, a new spectator sport. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people would be like, no, chess is not a sport. It's a game. Mm-hmm. And so people were very opinionated. I remember when Taekwondo came to the Olympics and everyone was like, okay, it's a martial art, but they already have judo and jujitsu.
Right. Are they going to have it for every martial art?
Are they going to have a separate one for karate?
Kung fu.
Kung fu, all those different things. So, and then what about the ones that the Shaolin monks do and what's that, Tai Chi?
Yeah.
That they do in the park if you're over 70?
Can you imagine?
And now I'm doing the sweeping waves of the ocean. Wait. Oh my God. So funny. Anyway. Guys, you heard it here. Hobby horsing. Go look it up. It's so fun. And also the average age of, the our listeners that are over 60 is growing every week. And so I'm pretty sure that Cheryl's not the only person who didn't know about hobby horsing. So if you're over 60 and you're listening to this and you don't know what hobby horsing is,
or if you're below 60,
you're not from Finland, go look it up because it's so funny. I actually told Minka about it and she thought it was a joke too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And she's like half my age. So I don't feel so bad not knowing about this thing.
Oh, God, I love it.
The most ridiculous thing.
Anyway, guys, updates. I have an update, and that is something that affects all of us, especially as we head into the back to school season. Everyone has back to school shopping, which, remember back to school shopping when you were a kid? Mm-hmm. Remember getting like a new backpack and getting new shoes
or
and
new pencil cases.
And how fun it was to wear like a new outfit the first day of school.
Yeah.
Or even if you didn't have a new outfit, you could wear like either a new pair of tennies or you'd wear like a new backpack with maybe a new t-shirt and just how like
notebooks.
You felt brand new, you know? It was just so much fun. Anyway.
I hated school. Anyway.
I know that there's been a lot of talk about tariffs. But, you know, I feel like heading into back to school season and then also with the holidays right around the corner, I feel like it's becoming a reality. Prices are going up. And I know we said we don't really talk about politics, and we're not, because this actually affects everybody, regardless as to what party affiliation you are, who you voted for, whether you follow politics or you don't. Tariffs will affect everybody because, like, you know, if there are price increases, it's going to affect every consumer out there.
Right.
And I have a good friend who ordered some yarn from like Norway or something like that. And when it got here, she had to pay an extra like $65 just to get the box because of the tariffs. That's what the U.S. Postal Service told her.
Oh my God.
Yarn. I was like, are you kidding me? So don't be ordering those vibrators from China. You heard it here first.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Over $60.
How much did she pay for the yarn? Probably not.
Well, it was from Norway. And as someone who likes to knit, I got to tell you, like all of my favorite discounted yarn shops, like those of you who used to shop at Tuesday Morning, they used to sell really good quality yarn at a discount price. Once in a blue moon, you can find, you know, discounted yarn somewhere else, like at a, you know, cheaper store, like a Bargain Basement or something, or at a thrift store. But other than like online, you know, I think you have to go to Michael's now. Like all the other craft stores or like a dedicated yarn shop. And those yarn shops, that yarn is expensive.
Yeah, I would think if it's just a specialty shop. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's super crazy. Anyway, Cheryl, you got any updates?
Well, it's not really an update, but I would like to apologize again. I did apologize in advance for our Squid Game episode, but I realize how horrible my pronunciation was of the Korean names. But I did say at the outset that I knew it was going to be bad. So I just want to apologize again. Because when we went to edit it, Joy was like cringing and laughing at me because it was so bad.
It was so fun.
So I just want to apologize.
Remember, we're super fans. So
we love.
We're not making fun of anything about Squid Game. We actually really love Squid Game. We're both super fans.
I just can't pronounce those names.
Yeah, I think Cheryl's algorithm on Netflix is like Squid Game, Love on the Spectrum, and Squid Game. They're like, I'm sorry, we have no more Squid Game shows for you.
Well, you know, they had that Squid Game, like it was like some competition, like I don't know. I couldn't get through. It was not very good. But
even that Physical 100 was super good.
Oh no, the Physical 100 is good.
We didn't even finish season 1.
Oh, I've watched both seasons. I can't wait till the next one.
And I tried watching And Just Like That again this morning for another 10 minutes. I figured what I'm going to do is watch it in 10-minute increments. And then eventually after a year or two, I'll get through the season.
And then what? You get a prize at the end? I don't know why you're torturing yourself.
I'm like a super fan from the old days. And season 1 and 2 wasn't that bad.
You have You guys, I have recommended so many good movies to her
and
good
shows,
and she won't watch them. She just refuses to, and she just
it's because I'm busy. It's because I have a busy life and lots of hobbies.
Yeah, she insists on torturing herself and just like that.
Well, anyway, on that note, I am rolling into shout outs. Guys, I have a shout out for my husband who has tweaked this recording process. I swear to you, one day we're going to come in here and we're going to have to like lay in like Mission Impossible beds suspended from the ceiling. Like there's so much wires and shit in here now. But if you have noticed a drastic improvement after 3 and 2.5, 3.5 seasons, it's because, wait, is this 2.5 seasons?
Yeah. 2.5.
It's because of his tweaking and his technical expertise. We are now a well-oiled machine, my friends. And I know I've said that in the past, but we just get better and better with age, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And also a shout out to 501 Nail Spa, who always keeps my dogs in tip-top shape. So thank you, Tommy, for making my toes wedding and vacation ready. Because I'm going to be getting on a plane and going on a trip and going to a wedding. And nobody likes pretty wedding feet like me. You got any shout outs, Cheryl?
I have a shout out to the police in Arkansas for catching that guy that stabbed a couple in the park at Devil's Den so quickly. They caught him very quickly. By the time this comes out, there's probably going to be more news. But I have to give that to them, that they really turned over every stone and caught him.
Wow.
They saw his car parked outside that barber shop. But he admitted to it, but then, you know what I don't get? They arrested him and he admitted to killing them. Then he's going to go to court and he's going to probably plead not guilty. So I just don't get that. But our condolences to the Brink family. Clinton and Kristen Brink, who were killed. And they have, I believe, 3 daughters who are now not going to have parents. And they just moved there. And they were just going out for a family hike. And the father, Clinton, was supposed to start a new job in that area in Arkansas.
It's so sad.
So anyway, shout out to the police. It's not an easy job, and they caught that guy quick.
It's not an easy job. Not that I'd know, because I could never be a police officer.
Watch all the Karen videos. Karen
Guys,
on a plane.
Cheryl
Karen
was up
on a
all
train.
night watching Karen videos.
Watching Karen's on compilations.
You know what I like?
Of
I
Karens
like watching
on planes.
arrest videos.
Oh, those two. And then, but do you see what the cops have to go through?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
and then
God.
you realize why a lot of times cops come off as being very belligerent and in your face and ask, they will be kind of barky with you because they're dealing with literally like the lowest common denominator.
Or people just flip out on them. There's a fine line. You can't be super nice, because then these people are just horrible. Some people are just horrible.
You heard it here, folks. Being nice doesn't pay.
It doesn't.
If you're a cop.
Finish last. No good deed goes unpunished. I mean, there's a reason for all these things.
Anyway, guys, Freaky Friday. First of all, we are recording on a Friday, which is fun. But the reason I say Freaky Friday is we are doing a little switcheroo.
Role reversal.
And for those of you who listen regularly, last week Cheryl did a non-murder, which was the Squid Game episode.
Although there's a lot of murder in that.
Right. And so this week, guess who is doing a murder episode? Your least murder interesting person, and that is moi. And I am doing, I'm going to be talking about the murder of Gabby Petito this week. And if you don't know about Gabby Petito, you literally have been living under a rock. When this news story hit the news, mainstream news, I was obsessed with it.
Everybody was.
And I wanted to find her alive so badly. And, you know, it was at the tail end. Wait, was it the tail end? It was during the pandemic, so I feel like we were all kind of captive audience too, right?
Right.
So
yeah,
we all wanted good
thing.
news. Everybody, you know, every time you turned on the TV or listened to the news or something, you heard about like the increase in death toll, you know, and then you had things like we had no face masks and you couldn't buy toilet paper. And our president would say things like you need to pour bleach in your hair and or in your mouth. And then you found out a couple in Florida actually did swallow bleach and died. So, you know, it was a lot of depressing stuff. And then you heard, you know, it was elderly people and children that were dying from, you know, COVID or whatever. So it was just, and I remember them saying like, if you have other comorbidities like obesity or diabetes or high blood pressure or high cholesterol, and literally I was like, check. I was like, I hit every single thing on the list.
God.
So anyway, the timeline of this that I'm going to go through is based on People Magazine, Business Insider, Newsweek, NBC, and others. And also I'm going to be referring back to the Netflix docuseries, which is called American Murder, Gabby Petito. It's a docuseries that has 3 episodes, and each one is about 45 minutes. And if you're interested in this case or you followed this case, I would actually recommend going to watch it. I will say this, and I'm going to start out with this. At first, I was going to end with this, but I'm going to start out with this. The docuseries was directed by Julia Willoughby Nason and Michael Gasparo, and it was executive produced by Dr. Phil. And by Dr. Phil, I mean the Dr. Phil from Oprah, who, you know, has the, you know, accent and whose wife always sits in the front row and he harasses people on stage and then doesn't help them out with their problems. So when I saw that at the end, when the credits ran, I have to tell you that I felt a certain way about it, but it was executive produced by Dr. Phil. And so, in other words, like, he didn't film it. He didn't direct it. He just paid for it and greenlit it, right? He's the money guy. So I didn't feel so badly about that. Because it was a well-created docuseries.
I thought it was a good docuseries.
And the docuseries retraces the 2021 van life road trip, disappearance, and murder of travel vlogger Gabby Petito by her fiance Brian Laundrie. It spans her early days on the trip, her disappearance, the search for her, and the discovery of both Gabby and Brian's remains. I just want to talk a little bit here about van lifers. One of the reasons that this story appealed to me so much is because I followed at least 4 van lifers and as they would document their stories and their travels on YouTube. And anybody who went through the pandemic, like a lot of us worked remotely. A lot of us stopped work and went home and didn't go back to work until work was available. A lot of us worked a hybrid where maybe we would work sometimes in person, sometimes remotely. My kids, I can tell you, they didn't spend 1 year at home. They spent 2 school years at home.
Wow.
And it was, everything just kind of slowed down. Like everything kind of ground to a halt. So
watching vloggers and content creators became very popular.
We all had a lot of extra time on our hands. And also, there was not this sense of urgency. I remember going out and driving places and there being no one on the road. Because in the first 6 to 8 weeks, you kind of were made to feel like if you left your home, you would die.
Yeah.
So
you're holed up in your house, and so you're reaching out by watching, you know, YouTubers and content creators and van lifers, people living out of their cars or whatever it might be.
Yep. And van life is a lifestyle that has gained popularity among particularly younger generations like millennials and Gen Zers. It involves living and working out of a converted van or another vehicle, embracing minimalism, mobility, and the freedom of the open road. They represent a diverse community of individuals seeking an alternative life to traditional living and a deeper connection with nature, because a lot of times they camp. A lot of times they, hike. They do all kinds of like cool, like they go to Sedona and you see the beautiful rocks, and they go to Moab and you see the beautiful like colors on the mountainsides, and they go to, the beach and you see the waves and the blue water and the sunshine. So I think back also to the movie Nomadland, and Cheryl and I both loved that movie because we both love Frances McDormand, and it's a story about an older woman, which is not so much the van life, like YouTube experience. Usually they're younger and usually they're couples. And this is about a woman who is like in our age bracket, who does like part-time work for Amazon at like a fulfillment center. And then when she gets money, she hits the road in this van, and it's like the things that happen to her, in a succession of maybe a year and a half or 2 years. And it was fascinating. It was really interesting because you learn through the movie that there's community out there. There's
that was the interesting thing. The people she met up with, and they would give her little tips, and I would always get anxiety when whenever I watch anybody that has a vlog because they live out of their car, or like this, the van lifers, whenever they have car troubles, because that's their whole thing. Like, it just gives me so much anxiety when they have a huge, like, something wrong with their vehicle, because they don't have a lot of money to fix it, and it's like,
well, and they maybe are not very well versed in like car maintenance, like, I gotta tell you, if I had to jump a car, I'd have to Google the instructions on what if you're in a dead zone. Okay, so like I followed 4 van lifers. I followed Eamon and Beck. I followed Kara and Nate, who did van lifing for a couple of years, or at least a year during the pandemic. I followed Susie Q, which was a girl in Europe who was a van lifer, and she was Asian. She was from Germany.
She's not Asian anymore.
She is. She's from Germany. And but she actually like shipped her van to like Mexico and then drove around like Central America. Yeah, and then the last one I followed, I can't remember, but I followed quite a few. Did you follow any van lifers?
I didn't follow any van lifers, no. I follow Kashi Star, and she lived out of her Beetle for a little while, but no, I haven't followed any van lifers.
Well, I also, Susie Q traveled through Central America with a friend who also shipped his van. And so what they do is they'd park their vans next to each other. They'd open up their side doors and they'd string little tea lights in between and have this common area. And they each had a dog. And it was actually like a little family.
Yeah.
And it created security and made them feel like they were traveling with someone. It was like, she had her pink van. He had his van. So it was
they had their own space.
A man and a woman on the road. And also, I mean, you're traveling through areas that you're not familiar with, and you don't speak the language in every place you go to. So, I mean, she drove, I remember she took her van and drove through Scotland and some of the most beautiful like scenery, Scotland and Wales, and became enamored with this van lifing idea. And I've often suggested to my husband that we buy a Sprinter van. The problem is he's 6'5", so he has to be able to fit in the van and stand up. And I don't know if they make the vans that height.
They probably do, but you got to pay extra.
Right. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a timeline of Gabby and Brian's adventures, and then obviously, at a certain point it stops to become an adventure for one of them, and then it stops to become an adventure for the another one. And most of you probably have already heard, you're familiar with this story, but Cheryl's going to jump in wherever she wants to like interject something. I always feel like whenever I do an episode on murder, which I think this is only my second or third, I did the one about that serial killer in like Michigan or something like that, or Illinois or something. I always feel like such a rookie, like I don't really know. I know you guys have heard Cheryl do so many murder episodes. She really is. One, she knows her shit. And two, she just knows which stones to uncover, and she knows how to put together a really good documentary. So, Francoise, if you're listening to this, please don't expect anything exciting, okay? Anyway, let's start with July 2nd, 2021. Gabby Petito and fiance Brian Laundrie depart from Long Island, New York, embarking on a cross-country van life trip in Petito's converted 2012 Ford Transit Connect. Now, remember, as I'm going through this timeline, I'm going to be injecting little bits and pieces from the docuseries that I watched. One of the things that they talk about in the docuseries is that Brian's parents didn't communicate very well with Gabby and vice versa. And she would text him because they have access to all of their text messages. Mm-hmm. And she would text him about not really seeing eye to eye with his mom.
Mm-hmm. So, because Gabby lived with Brian's
right.
parents.
And also
Brian and his parents.
Gabby worked long hours at a local Taco Bell to save up money for this adventure. And Brian didn't like it. He didn't like that she was gone all the time to work, and he would complain about the hours that she spent. And she really became good friends with a lot of the people that she worked with. And she enjoyed it. She loved it.
She had such a spirit about her. Mm-hmm. I mean, even when if you look at her videos and you turn the sound down, you can tell she just had this spirit about her. And so even though it was a fast food restaurant, well, I love Taco Bell, so I give a shout out to them. But
Crunchwrap Supreme.
She enjoyed it because she enjoyed people. She enjoyed working with the other people. She enjoyed the interaction with the customers. She just seemed like someone... I mean, because a lot of people would be like, begrudgingly work at a fast food place, but she loved it, which I think said so much about her,
And she made good friends when she was working there. They said she was working like 50-hour weeks, so she was doing overtime, but she had this goal in mind, and that was that they were going to take this van and she was going to start a YouTube channel, and they were going to drive around, and they were going to live out of the van. And obviously, in order to do that, you have to have money saved up, because it costs money for gas and for repairs and, like we said earlier, the unexpected. Mm-hmm. And also a lot of the stuff that you need in order to do it costs, like the computer equipment, the camera equipment, having solar panels so that when you stop somewhere, you actually can do things like edit videos and upload videos and charge your electronics, etc.
Food and whatever.
Exactly. So when they left, Brian's parents lived in Florida. So when they left Florida, they drove up to Long Island, and that's when they started their trip. They said goodbye to his parents first, and his family drove up to Long Island, said goodbye to her family, and then they hit the road. So that was July 2nd. August 12th, so a little over a month later, the police in Moab, Utah. So think about it. It's just a little bit over a month later. Respond to a domestic disturbance call. Officers separate the couple for the night after reports of Laundrie physically assaulting Petito. And they go over this several times in the docuseries. It starts out actually with the footage, the police body cam footage of them coming up to the van. She's crying, her eyes are swollen, and he had run over a curb. And so they pull the van over because they get this call that a man is slapping a woman. Mm-hmm. And the call is really clear. It doesn't say that the woman is slapping the man. So they take her out of the van to talk to her. They take her around behind, and and it's a man and a woman cop that are talking to her. And the woman cop is asking her, like, tell us what's going on. And she's crying, and she says, I have problems with OCD. She said, I just, we were fighting, and she starts to assume all the responsibility for this kind of this fight between her and Brian, even though the cops know that The reason the call's gone in is because he was slapping her.
Right.
And she says to the cop that she was hitting him.
Right. And so they separate them. They take her in the police car, right? And Brian's talking to the other cops by the van.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she starts taking on all the responsibility. Mm-hmm. She admits to hitting him. Mm-hmm. But she also has marks on her.
She does.
She like downplays it.
She says they were from earlier. And she has like a bruising on the side of her face by her eye. And then she also has some on her shoulder because she has like a tank top on. And he has scratches from her nails.
Right.
So obviously, whatever he has, like, he's hit her and bruised her. She's scratched him. But she takes the responsibility, and it quickly turns into the cops determining, because they're questioning him. A different cop is questioning him at the same time, determining that they're going to separate them. They're going to take him and put him in a hotel for the night. And she's going to stay with a van
by herself.
And they're not going to contact each other. But later you find out that she reached out to him and they got back. She went and picked him up and they got back together that night.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, obviously they're very young, you know, and there are a lot of young people and older people that thrive on the volatility sometimes in relationships.
Right.
I mean,
we've talked about that before.
Yeah, you've known people like that. I've known people like that. Guys, if your relationship is fraught with fighting, screaming, assault, hitting, slapping, remember, a healthy relationship is not supposed to hurt.
Yeah, don't.
And I mean hurt your ears, hurt your body, hurt your heart.
Right.
You know, hurt your eyes because you're crying a lot. The other thing I just had to tell you is one of the things I noticed, because they're interspersing this docuseries with a lot of clips of Gabby, like doing things. Like she's trying to stage different parts of this, you know, YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. And you have to have a good amount of recording because you have to edit it out and you have to put it together and you have to make it look like everything is really peachy keen and everybody's happy. And in some of the videos, she genuinely looks happy. And in some of them, Cheryl, her eyes are swollen, like she has been crying for a half a day. Now, I have known people that as soon as their eyes tear up, they get red in the eyes and they get this puffiness under their eyes and it'll go away fairly quickly. But I've also known people that their entire face will get puffy, their eyes will burn, and they are like that for the rest of the day.
Oh, yeah. It takes me 24 to 48 hours after I cry for my eyes swelling to go down.
It takes me 2 minutes tops, and that's just because I'm like, you know, have to find a Kleenex. That's the 2 minutes. But I don't get swollen eyes.
Yeah, you don't.
I don't get
You're
red
lucky.
eyes. And I'm always intrigued. I knew a girl who used to have to put like ice cubes on her face.
Oh, I did. It's terrible if I cry really hard.
So I noticed that her face is swollen a lot and her eyes are swollen. And it indicates that she spent a lot of time probably crying. Either that or she had horrible seasonal allergies.
Well, but can we get back to that police stop? If you guys go to YouTube, I mean, it's been out for a few years now, but if you go and watch the interaction between the police and Brian and Gabby, it's so disturbing and it's just heartbreaking. Not to say that if they handled it differently, she would be alive, because I believe he would have done it sometime down the road, even if they were to prevent it happening when it did. But it was a strange way that I kind of feel like the male police officers sort of gave Brian an out. Like the way they were talking to him, it was kind of leading him, and you know, in his mind, I mean, I'm putting thoughts and words in his mouth, but I feel like Brian was like, oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I can, you know, like he could feel the tide shifting, like that he could blame it on her, and the cops were almost encouraging it with the way they were talking. And at one point, I think one of the male officers said something to him like, yeah, my wife can get, you know, something like that, something about his wife getting that way with him or something, and it turned into like this bro talk about
that
women.
was a little bit strange.
It was really inappropriate.
The other thing is that they talk about very clearly in the docuseries is he felt like the YouTube channel was a waste of time and kind of silly. And she also talks about how on different recordings, how, he didn't think it was going to amount to anything. And so she kind of doesn't showcase him as much. And when he does look at the camera, he smiles, but then you also see the part where he stops smiling and he turns away, and you kind of get this feeling like he's just humoring her. But the other thing is, if that was her baby, he doesn't have to take a front seat to it.
Yeah. And, it breaks my heart because imagine that you're doing this thing that is a labor of love. You're really passionate about it. And then you got this freaking, dead weight along with you who is nothing but negative. And imagine yourself setting up your shot and filming yourself, and you've got this negative energy there that's like, doesn't want you to succeed, doesn't want you to be doing this, is jealous of everything you do. Like, that must have been so hard. I mean, you know what I mean? You're trying to be creative and fun, and then you've got this dead weight just watching you that whole time.
Well,
it must have been awful.
She texted her mom at one point and said, I need to spend more, or her friend, and said, I need to spend more time with him. I spend all this time on my phone, editing, recording, et cetera, et cetera. So we already knew that he didn't like how much time she worked at Taco Bell. And then we also find out that he didn't like how much time she put into this. And you kind of get the feeling from him, at least I did, from the small interactions that you would see that she captured him on video when she was recording, that he just wanted her all to himself.
Oh,
that
definitely.
He didn't want to share her with friends, with work, with YouTube, with anybody.
Yeah,
and
he would text her incessantly when she was working.
Yeah. So that was August 12th, the police interaction. On August 21, so again, less than 10 days later, her last FaceTime conversation, she has her last FaceTime conversation with her father. Apparently, no red flags were reported. And then August 25th, it's now 2 weeks after the police interaction. She posts on Instagram confirming that they're in Grand Teton National Park and speaks on the phone to her mother. And this is the last known family contact that she has. So now remember, they left on July 2nd. It's now August 25. So it's not even 6 weeks into it's what? Barely 6 weeks into their trip. So August 27th, a YouTube travel vlog captures footage of their white van near Spread Creek, Wyoming, approximately 6 p.m. This is the last verified sighting of the van and likely the date of Gabby's death. Later that day, Gabby's mother receives a strange text from her phone. Can you help Stan? I just keep getting his voicemails and missed calls. Now, one of the things I do want to talk about just briefly at this point is the docuseries is well done. We've already said that. But one of the things that I did a little digging on Reddit, one of the things that comes up over and over again is how this docuseries is very one-sided. It's all of Gabby's friends, ex-boyfriend, family. The mother and father were divorced. The mother remarried. The father remarried. You get no interaction or no feedback, no interviews from Brian Laundrie's family. Now, they were reached out to multiple times, but they declined to be interviewed for anything. They also declined to issue, public statements. They didn't, they didn't talk to reporters. People were camped out in front of their house for days with signs. They would put signs in the window of their car, which Brian Laundrie's dad would have to take out of the window of the car before he get in to drive somewhere. They would be shouting at them when they come in. The only people that spoke on behalf of Brian Laundrie was his sister and sister's husband, who came up to a microphone and said outside their house very soon after Brian came back and just said, listen, He's not here. We want to know where he is as well. We want to know where Gabby is, but please leave us alone while we work with the police and the authorities on trying to locate these kids. And it felt very like honest and heartfelt. But remember, other than that, there was nothing. So you do get a feeling that, I mean, I felt like I'm just getting one side of the, two sides of the story. I'm getting the cop side of the story and the investigators, the legal end of the story. And I'm getting Gabby's side of the story from her family and friends, etc. I said, I would have really liked to have had anything from his side of the family.
Well, in my opinion, that's very telling, because one of the things that happened was Gabby's family, her parents were reaching out to the laundries and asking if anything about Gabby, if they knew anything, and the laundries weren't responding.
Yeah.
Now that to me says a lot. So Brian had come back. Now Brian came back to his family's house on August 27th or August 29th. Which day did he come back?
Brian came back on September 1st to Florida.
Okay, so we're August 27th is the last footage of their van. Somebody else captures it, right?
Yeah.
And then, okay, go ahead.
So that's August 27th that they capture footage, and it's another van life couple that captures the footage.
Right.
And it was literally a fluke. They're like, hey, we were in the park at that time. We saw that van, and they went back and looked through their footage and provided the police with that footage.
Yeah, that
and
was
the van
amazing.
is sitting there. It appears that nothing's happened. Like, it hasn't been broken into. It hasn't been in an accident. It's just parked by the side of the road. So August 29th, 2 days later, Brian reportedly calls his mother saying Gabby is gone and asks the mother and father for a lawyer. And his tone changes noticeably during the call. What we find out later is that Brian's parents wire him $25,000 to retain an attorney. So that's a lot of money. That your son is calling from somewhere else and saying, Gabby's gone and I need money. And they're like, okay, here's $25,000. I'm sorry. If my kid called me and said, my partner's gone and I need $25,000, I'd be like, what's going on? What's happening? Like, I'm sorry. Well, do we need to call the cops? Like, you need to hang up and dial 911.
Well, wasn't his first story that she had met up with other friends? And went with them.
Yes.
So that's why he's saying she's
and had gone with them. But remember, it's her van.
I know. So it's like, are you kidding? His parents didn't think that was, kind of sketchy that he comes back with her van.
Mm-hmm. So the next day on August 30th, another text from Gabby's phone to her mother reads something like, no service in Yosemite, which her mother suspects is not being sent by Gabby. Now remember, her parents are reaching out to her now, and they're like, we haven't heard from her, and they've only been on the road for a little over 6 weeks. So it's not, they left on July 2nd. It's August 30th when the mom gets this. Of course they're going to be concerned. This is a big adventure. Their early 20-something daughter has gone on with her early 20-something boyfriend, and it's weird. Like,
well, also, sorry to interrupt, but on August 27th, when Gabby's mother receives that text from her phone saying, can you help Stan? I just keep getting the voicemails and missed calls. If memory serves me, because I watched this a while ago, wasn't Stan her grandfather, Gabby's grandfather?
Yes.
And she never called him Stan,
yeah.
Right? So already the mother's like, red flag alert is going up, because Gabby didn't call her grandfather Stan, if I remember correctly. And now she's saying from her phone, no service in Yosemite. So her mother is really getting, bad feelings.
So on September 1st, Brian returns alone to Northport, Florida in the shared van, and Gabby's not with him. Now remember, between August 27th and August 30th. Mm-hmm. Sorry, between August 27th and August 29th, so 2 days, there is a trail of Brian being picked up by people. He's hitchhiking, and what he has done is he is kind of creating a trail to kind of take, and you feel like it's very obvious trail that he's trying to take people away from. It's like he's taking them on a little path to trick people into thinking I don't know where my van is, you know? But then he shows up, 2 days later with the van in Florida, which would indicate that he probably drove all day and all night, whatever. Because, it takes a while. Cheryl and I just drove from fucking Arizona, like legitimately on the other side of Arizona, all the way to North Carolina. Yeah. And let me tell you, that's not a 1 day, 1.5 day trip.
No.
So, granted, we're not 23 years old, but so what he did was, they've obviously retraced the steps, but what he did was they went for a hike, all of a sudden he's picked up by hitchhikers. Then he's picked up by another hitchhiker. And each hitchhiker had a little story like, he and his girlfriend, were hiking. They had some car trouble. He's got to go get a car part. He, got separated from some friends. Mm-hmm. He needs to get back to his family. His van is parked over here. So he gets back to the van. He gets in the van. And the other thing that they clearly outline is he's got his phone now and he's got her phone and he's texting him. He's texting messages from Gabby to him and he's texting back to Gabby and he's also making it look like she's texting him back and forth. And then the last thing he does is he takes $700 out of her account and he transfers it to his account and he sends himself a text from her phone that says to the tune of, "This is all the money that I owe you. Have a good life. And I hope everything works out. You can have my van."
Wow.
Which is so, I'm sorry. Again, what best laid plans. Sometimes when I hear shit that people put together, I think, did you really think that was going to work?
No, this was a girl that was just starting. Was just starting her van life channel, and she's gonna sell the van, which is the other character in her van life vlog. She and the van, and she's gonna sell the van to him. Desperation.
So September 1, he returns alone to Florida. September 1st. September 11th, Gabby is officially reported missing by her mother to Suffolk County Police Department. So 11 days. In those 11 days, Gabby's parents are calling Brian's parents, and they're not returning any of their calls. They're texting.
Horrible.
They're flipping out because they don't know where their daughter is, and she's not texting them, and she's not responding. Remember, that's the other thing is, and Cheryl, you can ping the location of a cell phone.
Right.
That's the other thing is we need to remember, and anybody out there who's like planning the world's most perfect crime needs to remember, there is a digital footprint on almost every single human being on this planet.
Yeah, that's one of the things that brought Brian Kohberger down in the Idaho murders. But anyway.
And also in those 11 days, Brian Laundrie and his parents go camping.
Jeez.
So he gets home with the van, his girlfriend's van.
That she sold to him.
Right. And the $700 that he's taken from her account. And remember, she has gone off with some friends. She's going to be hanging out with her friends now. Even though she wants to be a van lifer and she's got a video.
Right.
She's going to be a van lifer without a van. And he and he gets home and he goes, "Hey, you guys want to go camping?"
Yeah.
So they load up. Let's go camping. And they go on a camping trip. And then they come back from the camping trip, and on September 15th, this is 2 weeks after he gets home, Northport police publicly name him a person of interest, and he is not cooperating with investigators. And this is, by now, there are people staked out in his front yard. There are news crews. They are acting all like fugitives. They're hiding in their house. The parents come out occasionally to like run an errand or go to the store, but they can't even leave their house. And that's when the sister and her husband come out and they issue the state like, listen, you know, we want to get to the bottom of this too. We want to find Gabby. We love her.
Yeah.
You know, anyway, September 17th. So this is 16 days after he gets home with this van. Now, I ask you, why haven't they impounded the van? Why aren't they scouring the inside of the van?
Right.
Why did it take 16 days for the Northport police to name him as a person of interest? Why?
Yeah,
I mean, knowing what we know. I mean, remember, September 11, she was reported missing by her mother.
Now, that's
6 days after that, but it's 2 weeks. It's 16 days.
But now has this
after he gets back by himself.
Like I said, it's been a while since I've watched this. So have the police gone to the laundries in this time? Because this docuseries was the first footage I saw that was released anywhere of the police going to, or detectives going to the laundry house, and they wouldn't come out.
No,
they were like on the porch.
They wouldn't. It was September 15th. They wouldn't cooperate with investigators.
And didn't they say
and when you see people like, remember that Asian guy that got dragged out of the airplane? So we'll drag that guy out of the airplane, but we're not going to like make you come out of your porch.
Because didn't they say the police asked, is Brian here? And they said yes.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't come. And
no. He wasn't cooperating. And I don't understand why they wouldn't just say, you know what? He needs to come out or we're going to arrest him.
Yeah.
Because
that's
it doesn't make any sense to
Why
me.
wouldn't you come out to talk if it was your girlfriend really just met up with other friends and left you her van?
So September 17th, Brian Laundrie's parents report him missing. So basically
now he's missing.
Yeah, 2 days after he was named as a person of interest.
Interesting timing.
They allege that he left for a solo hike in the Carlton Reserve in Florida. And the Carlton Reserve is basically like this Everglade area where there's alligators and there's snakes, and apparently he loved going out there, and he and his dad would hunt and fish, and so he kind of fancied himself an outdoors guy, and he used to go out there and go camping and stuff, I guess. That was September 17. So 2 days later, September 19th, human remains matching Gabby's description are found in Bridger Teton National Forest near Spread Creek, Wyoming, and authorities believe they belong to her. And her death was by strangulation, and it becomes crystal clear at that point. I remember, like, when I saw that, I was so sad because I just kept hoping that they would find her alive, you know? So obviously this speeds everything up. So the next day, September 20th, FBI execute a search warrant at the Laundrie family home in Northport. They seize evidence, including the van, and declare the residence a crime scene. Again, that's September 20th.
Yeah.
He came home on September 1st. So September 21st, Teton County coroner confirms the body is Gabby's and rules her death a homicide. However, the cause was determined later. So I don't know, because they said that her remains were like, they didn't find a lot of remains. So it makes you wonder, how does that process work? So September 21st, they confirmed the body was Gabby's, but it wasn't until October 12th. So that's like 3 weeks later. They conclude the cause of death was strangulation and blunt force trauma. The deceased had been dead for approximately 3 to 4 weeks. So that means that if it was 3 weeks, she would have been killed right around September 11th. And if it was 4 weeks, because remember, it would have been between September, around that August 30th, September 1, when, right before Brian came back to Florida. October 20th. So now remember, there's a manhunt happening.
He's been missing.
He went missing, and then he went missing on September 17th. They have had search dogs. They've had search crews out in this Everglade-like area of Florida. But remember, it's chock full of alligators. It's chock full of snakes. There's all kinds of crazy shit out there. And one of the people who is in charge of, who is in this search team says that the dogs were being attacked by alligators or crocodiles or whatever amphibious animals in the water. And so it was a very dangerous undertaking. So they had to be super careful.
Yeah.
Also, it's an area where it's very tropical in Florida, so it rains a lot. So sometimes the water will be low, and also it's affected by tides. Sometimes the water will be very high. So sometimes trails that you could walk along will be underwater, and sometimes they'll be swampy and you can't go in there, and then other times they'll be dry and sandy.
So that hinders their search, for sure.
So obviously, if the dogs if they're having a hard time getting in there and looking for remains of someone or a person with dogs, I mean, that they're probably combing the area and being very thorough. On October 20th, Brian Laundrie's parents decide to join in the search for their son. It takes 1 hour. They knew exactly where he was. They went exactly to the place where his body was. And his remains were discovered in the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park in Florida. They found a notebook containing a confession, his backpack, and a firearm. Remember, the police have been searching, but the parents for weeks.
The police, who are professionals and have experience in searching for a person,
and there was nothing left. They said there was nothing left. It was skeletal remains, which is unbelievable if you think about it.
Well, there's
animals and also it's very hot, so the decomposition process would have probably taken very quickly. So on November 23rd, so they found his remains on October 20th. November 23rd, which is over a month later, the medical examiner confirms that his death was a suicide by gunshot to the head. So what he did was he packed up his little backpack or whatever, probably told his parents, I'm going for a hike. And I got to be honest, I think his parents probably knew that it wasn't going to be a good ending for him. And he said, I'm not going to go to prison. And he said, I love you. And he left. And they because he probably told them exactly where he was going to go, and, that I'm going to kill myself.
This is my opinion. I don't think that they believed he was just going to go camping, clear his head. I think they knew, and I think that what a horrible position to be in. This is your son. He did a terrible thing, but they still love him. That is their son. What do you do? That he's going to be found guilty and be put in prison. Or on the other hand, he's going to take matters into his own hand and kill himself. I mean, that's a hard position for the family. But I don't for 1 second believe that they didn't know what he was going to do.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the docu-series, there is information that, they put up on the screen, and it says, August 19th, 2021, Gabby launched her van life YouTube channel and published her one and only video. Before her murder, her video had less than 500 views. Today, she has had over 7 million views. To date, no criminal charges have been filed against the Laundries. In 2022, the Petito Schmidt family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Roberta and Chris Laundrie. This ended in a settlement in 2024. Petito's family settles a $3 million wrongful death lawsuit with the parents.
Wow.
But I don't understand the criminal charges because they didn't cooperate with the authorities and they knew exactly where you know what I mean? I just feel like they were accessories to a crime, you know? The docuseries stands out because they presented unseen body cam footage and extended interviews that people hadn't heard about, including an ex-boyfriend that she had hinted at wanting to leave Laundrie days before her death. It also includes real text messages between Brian and Gabby. So it allows you to see their banter, their quarrels, the intimacy of their conversation. It also opens up domestic violence awareness in couples. And it has been referred to as a textbook case of narcissistic abuse. But I will also say that there was stuff that didn't work. And one of the things that people on Reddit and other forums were really quick to judge was the use of AI generated voice. One of the most controversial elements is that they did this. A lot of people said it was creepy, exploitative, uncomfortable, or eerie. So I looked it up and it said, what are the ethical concerns that come up from using AI voice cloning technology? And my good buddy Google said that using someone's voice without clear permission violates privacy and intellectual property rights. Voice cloning raises critical questions about consent and ownership, emphasizing the importance of ethical framework and explicit permissions. So her family had to have given permission for them to use an AI generated voice. Yeah. And then again, were a lot of claims of one-sided narrative. Brian Laundrie's family, represented by their attorney, Stephen Bertolino, criticized the series for presenting a single perspective as truth, citing alleged timeline errors and omissions despite not participating in the documentary.
But the Laundries had an opportunity to speak up.
And so why not take that opportunity to say from our perspective, this was done wrong, or this happened, or, our son was troubled, or whatever. Right.
To claim that it's one-sided, but refuse or decline to come in and speak your own, on your own behalf, I think it's telling you can't say it's one-sided if you refuse to speak.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Casey Anthony and her parents.
Yeah.
And her relationship with her father and how fraught that was with dysfunction. I also look at this as being the same. Like the mother. And the mother was very protective. She wrote a letter to Brian that said burn after reading. And in the letter, she said she would, if he needed to bury a body, she would come with the shovel. And of course he didn't burn it after reading it.
Yeah, because they found it. And I'll tell you, they declined to be on this docuseries or any interview that has happened around this case because she would be questioned about things like that. And she would not have a good answer. Who says if there's a body, I'll help you bury it? I mean, good Lord, so that's why they didn't want to do any interviews because they're going to be questioned. It's like being cross-examined. They didn't want to be put in that position because they knew the truth.
So the question is this worth streaming? If you are interested in true crime or stories that offer a deeper look at domestic violence dynamics, this series is worth watching. It humanizes Gabby Petito beyond the headlines and provides chilling visual and emotional context. If you or someone you know is involved in a domestic violence relationship, you can call 1-800-799-7233. Or you can text the word BEGIN to 88788. You can also visit wannatalkaboutit.com. And then I also have to say, if you do not like Dr. Phil, try not to think about what I said about him before you watch this docuseries.
Well, one of the good things that came out of it was the police I think they had additional training in how to handle.
Yes.
Incidences like that because it was just painful.
Listen to me right now, okay? If you haven't watched hobby horsing, by the time the next episode drops, then you are committing a real crime. But you know what else is a crime?
Oh, what's that, Joy?
That we be out of time.
That is a crime. Well, thank you for listening, everyone, and don't complicate your day. All creativity, commentary, and opinions in this podcast belong to Cheryl and Joy. Music composed and mixed by Gabe McKeon. Logo and merch managed by Cheryl Yamaguchi. Podcast editing, advertising, and social media managed by Joy McKeon. Legal representation provided by John Bojezic. Please like, subscribe, follow, and listen. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible.com, Amazon Music, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. And remember, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok, or you can email us at murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com.
Bye, fishes.